We're going to go to Commissioner, I don't know if it's comments, suggestions, improvements, future agenda items. Commissioner Liberty.
Orders for dinner?
We might get dinner tonight, unlike our last meeting.
There's no vote. No, I have not. So,
Commissioner Sprinkle, I'm going to say it really loud for Commissioner Cooper, because I confused the two.
We're both blonde now, right, Carolyn? Okay, so last week I went to, I gave him his right here. So I have it right up here, and everybody's got theirs. And I went to a fascinating presentation that I passed it on to Randy and said, I'd like for y'all just to take your time and read it. It was called Shared Values and Shared Future. It was the Central Florida Regional Leadership, and it was 7 counties represented. I did a summary on the top page, and it just tells you a little bit about what came forward that night, because it wasn't just about visioning or just about needs assessment. It was about how right now, if you go out to our community, very clearly our community will tell you it's all about how we feel, and you heard that just a minute ago, it's how people feel. And so we have to pay attention that whatever people feel is reality. And so I wanted you to see what's been done. It tells you a little bit about what the public, what the private, what the independent folks are saying is the most important. But what struck me the most was when they said, it's really not, traffic is what I keep hearing about, but it's not about traffic, it's about, I can't get home and be with my family because of traffic. And so it's a kind of an interesting way of looking at what we've traditionally called visioning or traditionally called needs assessment. So I wanted you to look at it because Dr. Alsop, who did this, did a great job with the people who were there, so I just wanted you to see that. And if you get a chance, it's one-page summary, but it'll tell you what I learned, okay? Also, I asked Randy to comment on the fence because I get a number of people who keep asking me about the fence for Sunrail that's in the park. And just because we got lots of people coming to see us for July the 4th, and I don't like to see fences that are falling down, okay?
The fence you're referring to is the construction fences between the stage area of Central Park and the track. FDOT plans a decorative permanent fence, but like many things, that was very far back on their list of priorities. Don contacted them again today,
Okay.
asking if we could move that project up, or if they would allow us to just construct it and get reimbursed for putting it in place. So he, as of the time the commission meeting started, we did not have an answer. We're following up.
I just passing along what people tell me that there is bothering them, and when I drive by and look at it, it bothers me too. One more thing is, we've had so much that's an issue that's a result of our WRT study, and we have a lot of information. And when I go to our website and I try to retrieve some of that information, it's not always as easily accessible for the public. So I'm just wondering, it's just like when we had the presentation from Geraldine, from Senator Thompson earlier tonight. There's so many things we can do electronically now and virtually now. I'd love to see that presentation available to our whole public that want it. But I think they need to know that it's there. So when they go on our website, is there a way to say, hey, have you seen this yet? Well, the same thing might be true with the WRT study, so that people aren't blaming us for recommendations that came from somewhere else, went through a process, and now we're trying to act on. So I just want us to look at ways that those kinds of things could be accessible to more people so that it's not feeling like, I think the public sometimes thinks we dream this stuff up, and we don't. It usually comes to us through a board. And because of that, I'd like us to just pay attention to a way to make that accessible to the public.
Great. Anything else, Commissioner?
That's it.
Commissioner Cooper.
Thank you for this, Sarah. I would agree with Sarah. In fact, I think the city right now, if you go on our website, they're doing a great job with sustainability. There's a
I took the test.
Yeah, there's a bullet on there that asked our residents, what do you think about making all these changes to sustainability? And it links you to the sustainability plan so that you can read it, and I hope people do read it. But we could do the same thing with the issues of changes to our comprehensive plan and our policies. We could say on our website, we are considering making these changes to our comprehensive plan relative to plan developments. people could link and go read it and understand. And I agree that that WRT study needs to be there. I mean, other communities, many other communities hold lots of workshops before they make policy changes to a comprehensive plan. And we just move a little fast for people's comfort, you know, and I would love to see us have that sort of opportunity for people to understand how these things are calculated and the difference in what they look like. And it's not hard to do because we have all of these websites available where you can go out and you can see what the footprint of a PD1 or an R4 looks like compared to what the footprint of a commerce or a retail or an office looks like. And I'd just like people to have that information available to them. So I agree wholeheartedly. I know you can't put everything in the whole wide world on the website, but I noticed you've done a really good job with the sustainability report. And the sustainability report is important, but it pales in comparison with the comprehensive plan. So
It's a survey for you too, Karen.
I know, and you know something, I took the survey and then I almost pushed the send button. I said, wait a minute, I didn't read the report. I don't understand the unintended consequences of my answers. So I stopped and I went back and I read the report. And I'd like people to have that opportunity. Most people in this town, they don't know what's in their comprehensive plan now. They don't know what's there protecting them and putting gates around PDs. They don't even know what's there. So to talk about changing it, you know, I wish we could be more educational in our inclusiveness so that people can read for themselves. And I guess that's all I had to say about that. But mostly, I think tonight was a good night. We did all right, even when we weren't all necessarily on the same page. I think it went very nicely. Pleased with the meeting. And I'm very impressed, I have to say this. I am so impressed with the residents of Winter Park. I have been on the collecting signatures end. Quite frankly, this may not have been a petition that I myself would have elected to go out and get signatures on, but the fact of the matter is you cared enough about Winter Park and about your park space to do this, and I think that that's commendable. And as long as it's done in the spirit of participation and respect and cooperation, it's an amazing effort, and I just have to say I am honored to serve as your representative.
Commissioner Max? What do you think, Commissioner Cooper?
I think it's Thursday at noon is USA Germany. And it could be a city holiday, I believe. And then to top that.
Is that in Germany, the city?
And then to top that, at 7:45 on Friday is Trader Joe's.
Oh, that's right.
And I know where I'll be for both of those events.
Right.
That's all I have.
So, you know, I've listened to the audience and the citizens over the last few months, and I disagree. I think that they're disagreeing with the vision that we have in place. I think that whether they understand it or not, it's been something that's been in place for a number of years. So tonight I'm asking 3 of my commissioners, or 2 of my commissioners, to join me in getting an agenda item on our next meeting to do 2 things. 1, to conduct a scientific community-wide process. I think there's always the opportunity to talk about these kind of things at the front end and get people in it, but you know, I've seen the ballot box stuffed before, not in Winter Park, but in other places. So where there's misinformation and other things, if it's not done scientifically and well, the credibility of that, I think, is important. Obviously, we want to have community conversations that go into that, but I think it's time for a new comprehensive plan. I think it's time to look at the 2020 vision of our city. You know, it's the current comprehensive plan that people are mad at. They're mad at what's being built at the DMV site. That was done in our current comprehensive plan. They're mad at other kinds of developments that was being done in our current comprehensive plan. So, you know, I think it's time to do a touch point. I wouldn't go to my doctor and say, you know, what was my health scores in 2008? Does my blood work that way or not? I think it's time to revision and look at that, and that leads to something. I think the WRT is a great place to start. So I'm asking for 2 fellow commissioners to join me in both a vision that will ultimately lead to something. Because a vision that doesn't lead to anything is another one of these reports that we have on our shelves. So I don't know if I have 3. That's 2.
And you're talking to raise it as a discussion topic. for
At our next meeting, yeah, to put it on the agenda to discuss the vision process and then how we would go ahead and look at the comprehensive plan.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a comment about something, because I've heard over...
Commissioner, I'm sorry, I have the floor, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There was a
So-
long silence, I thought you were done.
So I think, and I appreciate that, I think it's good to start to look at this. I think I've listened to the citizens, and there's a lot of concern about what they perceive as development. Again, done under the current comprehensive plan. It's time to do a touch point. It's time to listen to that, and obviously listening to thousands of people, which I think will ultimately be what happens with our community-wide scientific process, needs to lead to something. And there's been a lot of misinformation distributed. There was a lot of misinformation distributed about some of the processes and decisions that have gone on in the past. I'm calling for incredible transparency and openness in that, and maybe a horse's mouth statement. Maybe it's not a single commissioner or single else, maybe there's a horse's mouth, statement and kind of almost a benchmark that says, no, this is what's being discussed today. It may not have any of the 5 of our hands on it. It may be something totally different in terms of interpretation, et cetera. So from a community-wide, and it has to be scientific to me. This is something just like you would do if you were going to see any really true community input, because I appreciate everybody who comes and spends time with us tonight, appreciate each one of you. But again, I think I've heard 8 people speak tonight. And they may represent 2,200, they may represent 22,000. I don't know. And that's why I think that doing this in a scientific way that looks at it would be very, very important. And I think that was embedded in the WRT study. Obviously, you want public input. You want the 80 people that come to all of our meetings to continue to come and provide us input. But I think that we really need to listen to the entire community. That
Mr. Mayor,
concludes.
I didn't understand
I'm
your
requesting-
horse's mouth comment.
I'm sorry?
I didn't understand your horse's mouth.
Oh, when we start to talk about what the comprehensive plan becomes, there might need to be something that's very definitive in terms of what this is and what this isn't. Because our current comprehensive plan has been used to support what we're doing and to say, isn't it horrible what we're doing? And I think the citizens' input back to field that you mentioned, Sarah, is based on things that are happening in the actual comprehensive plan. So that is my real concern. I mean, we've had 6 years to know this plan, and if people don't like what's happening, then that's a problem, sir.
Well, my understanding is we have to look at it anyway. I mean, it's time for
Yeah,
us to start looking
that's
at it.
true.
But my other deal is that we get pretty much the credit for everything that is a height that people don't like, when in fact, it's already approved. It's in there. It says you can go that high, if not higher. So that's why I called this week and said, hey, is there any way we can put something on our website with the GIS that says, this is where you can go these heights, and so we can begin to tell people what's out there. I just think that people don't know. And the more we can get with electronic systems, the more people could learn about what's out there. Because we're all in this great town because we want to be. And, the people that are fussing about traffic, we all have that.
And by the way, I think that is our #1 issue facing
I
our city
agree.
going forward. And by the way, it's not all coming from Whole Foods. Remember, there was a Dodge dealership and a corporate square and other things that created traffic there before. So this is, and DMV probably had more traffic than the apartment complex is going to have. So these are things that we have to clearly, bring up. And yeah, traffic, people come through Winter Park. I don't think we can put a fence up, so we've got to be able to address. By the way, if the best place to live, work, and play in Florida can't figure out the best way to move traffic through our city, then there's no hope if the people of Winter Park can't figure that out. Carol?
Mr. Mayor, there is one clarification that I would like to make, and that's about the DMV property. Because I do hear people often say, that's what our comprehensive plan, that was built under our existing comprehensive plan, that's what our comprehensive plan allows. But if you go to the actual minutes of the meeting where that was approved, what you'll find is the only reason it happened under our existing comprehensive plan is because we as a commission voted 3 very important changes to that plan. We voted to increase the height from
Under
3
conditional
stories.
use.
Under conditional use,
For
we
comprehensive
made the
plan purposes
decision,
to-
right. We made the decision to increase the height from 3 to 4, to change the zoning that
Because
restricted
we,
it.
actually, it's still
to-
55.
Please don't interrupt
No,
me,
Commissioner, you
please.
took my
Mayor,
time.
please.
You took my time, Carolyn.
Well, tell me when you're ready for me to speak.
So go ahead, but the 55 feet is 4 at 55, not 4 at 16 times 55.
Or, tell me when you're ready for me to speak.
No, I'm asking you a specific question.
I didn't understand the question.
Well, you said it's still 55 feet, it's 4 to get to 55.
No, what I said was, we made 3 very important changes. We changed the height that was allowable on the height map from 3 stories to 4 stories. We changed the zoning from office or commercial to R4, and the difference in that is, office and commercial is a 45% floor area ratio, 60% with residential, and R4 is a 200% floor area ratio. We also passed a special change to our comprehensive plan to allow us to increase the density by utilizing the density on the adjacent lot. So it's not quite fair, I just want to be fair about this, it's not quite fair to say that all that happened under the current comprehensive plan as it is, because it only happened because we as the legislative body chose to make changes. So I appreciate we need to look at all these things, I get that, but I want us to be honest, and I want us to be open, and I want us to be transparent.
Well, I want to meet the needs of the citizens, and the citizens said there's no vision in this city, that there's things that need to be looked at, and that's what I want to listen clearly to and address. And by the way, the 55 feet is still, whether it's 4 stories or 3 stories, I believe, am I correct?
55 feet is in the Land Use Development Code, which is subordinate to the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan establishes heights by story. Now, don't ask me why, I wouldn't have chose that myself, but that is the way it was
So it is
established.
under 55 feet, Commissioner. That's not the point that I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is there's a lot of misinformation out there, there's a lot of people that are suggesting we have the wrong vision, and I'm saying it's time to look at this and hone our vision for the next 5 to 10 years. I look forward to talking about this at our next meeting. We're going to have a July 4th between now and then. I wish everybody happy July 4th, and by acclamation, we sit adjourned. Have a wonderful evening.